Okay, so let's jump right in. We all use words like this and that all the time, right? In Spanish, you've got esto and eso. Seems simple enough. But what if I told you that these everyday words are hiding a secret superpower? I mean, a genuine linguistic power that can literally change the way we look at the world. So yeah, let's uncover it. To get us started, I want you to look at something. I'm about to show you 3 sentences that you'll hear from native Spanish speakers constantly. All I want you to do is try and spot the puzzle. What's the weird thing they all share? You ready?
Okay, here they are. Now, if you've ever sat in a Spanish class, your grammar sense is probably tingling right now. We're seeing the neuter pronoun eso being used to talk about una mujer, a woman, which is a feminine noun. Then we see it used for una mochila, a backpack, also feminine. And get this, we're using the singular eso to talk about 2 things, a table and a chair. So, what is going on here? The rules we all learned just don't seem to fit.
So here's our game plan for figuring this out. First, we'll tackle the neuter puzzle itself. Then, we'll unlock what I'm calling the individual secret. After that, we'll see its reality-shifting superpower in action, meet the whole family of these pronouns, and finally, figure out how speakers choose which one to use.
All right, part 1. The Spanish neuter puzzle. Let's really dig into why those textbook rules are letting us down.
So here's the problem in a nutshell. The textbook tells you that neuter pronouns like eso are for, abstract ideas, vague concepts, things you don't know. But then you go out into the real world and you hear people using them to point at very specific, very concrete things. A particular person, a feminine object, even a whole bunch of furniture. It just doesn't add up.
And hey, it's not just you. This has been a puzzle for a long time. Linguists have tried to explain it by slapping labels on them like abstract or non-human. But as the research we're looking at points out, none of those old theories can actually explain how you can say eso es mujer and have it make perfect sense. We clearly need a better explanation.
And that brings us to part 2, the individual secret. Seriously, this is the one key that's going to unlock this whole thing for us. Here it is, the big idea. Every single Spanish neuter pronoun has one core feature baked into its DNA. Linguists call it minus individual. And that little minus sign on the front? That's everything. It's a strict rule that says these pronouns are forbidden. They can never be used to point to a single, distinct, separate thing. It's just not their job. So you can think of it like this. Pronouns have different job descriptions. Masculine and feminine pronouns, like él or ella, they're free to point to individual things all day long. That's what they do. But the neuter pronouns, they have one very specific instruction in their code. You are non-individual. Your job is to never, ever single out one separate entity.
Okay, so if these pronouns can't point to individual things, then how on earth do they work? Well, it turns out this limitation is actually their superpower. It lets speakers shift our focus and actually change the meaning of what they're pointing at. This is the million-dollar question, right? If eso is hard-coded to be negative individual, how can a speaker possibly use it to talk about a t-shirt or a person? I mean, that sounds like a total contradiction, but believe it or not, it's not. The secret is this really cool mental trick called a type shift. When a speaker uses a neuter pronoun to point at a physical object, they're basically performing linguistic magic. They are intentionally recategorizing that object, shifting it in your mind from being a concrete thing into an abstract set of qualities.
Let's make this real. Imagine someone gives you a t-shirt. You could hold it up and say, esta me encanta. I love this one. And you'd be talking about the individual shirt. But if you say, esto me encanta, using the neuter esto, you're not talking about the physical object anymore. You're talking about the collection of its properties, the awesome style, the cool color, the fact that it was a really thoughtful gift. You've shifted from the thing itself to its very essence.
And just like that, we can solve our original puzzles. When someone says eso es una mujer, they're not identifying her. They're pointing to the whole package of her amazing qualities, her strength, her wit, her spirit. When someone needs eso in reference to a backpack, they're not talking about a specific bag. They're talking about needing the qualities of a backpack, like durability and the right size. And the furniture? Eso just bundles it all together into one abstract idea, the office setup I need. The individual rule works perfectly every time.
Now, this idea is so fundamental, it doesn't just apply to esto and eso. No, there's a whole family of pronouns that operate this way. So let's meet the rest of the crew. So you've got lo, which is a bit more formal. You have the super common lo, which you see everywhere as an object. Of course, there are pointers, esto, eso, and the more distant aquello. And this is the cool part, there's even an invisible pronoun, what linguists call a null pro. It's there in the grammar, doing its job, even though you can't see or hear it. And the one thing they all have in common? They are all minus individual.
The pronoun lo can be a real troublemaker, because sometimes it's not actually referring to anything. Like in the phrase, lo que quiero es, what I want is. That lo isn't a placeholder for something mentioned earlier. Its only job is to be a presenter. It's like a little spotlight that says, hey, pay attention to what I'm about to say. It has no reference, so by default, it takes the neuter form.
All right, the last piece of the puzzle. We've met the family, we know their secret individual rule, but how does a speaker choose which one to use in a given moment? Well, it turns out the choice isn't random at all. It's actually a sophisticated code that signals what's going on inside the listener's head. The theory behind this is sometimes called the givenness hierarchy, but an easier way to think about it is like a mental spotlight. Basically, the pronoun a speaker picks is a clue about how lit up an idea is in your brain. Is it center stage, right in the middle of the spotlight, or is it just kind of hanging out in the wings in your short-term memory?
It really breaks down into two main states. If an idea is in focus, I mean it's the absolute center of everyone's attention, a speaker will use a low-key pronoun like la or that invisible null pronoun. But if the idea is just activated, it's on your mind but it's not the main event, then the speaker will reach for eso. And here's the key. Using eso is always contrastive. It's a way of saying, I mean that idea, not the other ideas floating around.
And this table just lays it all out so clearly. You can see right there at the top. For things that are in focus, you use lo or the invisible null pro. No contrast needed. But look at that middle row. When something is just activated, you grab eso, and you are always creating a contrast. It's just an incredibly smart and efficient way to manage attention during a conversation.
So if you're going to remember one thing from all this, let it be this. Spanish neuter pronouns are way more than just grammar. They are these incredibly powerful tools for shifting our perspective. They let a speaker move the conversation from what something is to what it is like, its qualities, its properties, its very essence. And that kind of leaves us with one final thought, doesn't it? If a system this complex, this meaningful, is hiding in plain sight in a couple of words we use every day, it really makes you wonder what other secrets are hiding in the grammar we think we already know.